Fantastic. All right. Welcome everybody to the Needham Park and Recreation Commission meeting for Monday, September 15th here at the Rosemary Recreation Complex. We are having a little bit of technical difficulties on our screen, but if that can be changed throughout the meeting, we will alert everybody, but I welcome everybody to the meeting. We do have a quorum. We do have one of our commissioners that will be joining us via Zoom after a work call in the next few minutes. That will be Michelle Geddes, but we do have 3 people here from the commission here, so we do have a quorum. Going via the agenda, our open forum public comment. I don't know if we have any in the Zoom chat room or anything like that. Ooh, looks like we might have some technical stuff happening. But if we need to go back to any public comment, we will. But what we will also do now is I will recognize that Mr. Michael O'Brien, the chair of the Needham School Committee, is here. One of the agenda items that we have on our agenda tonight as a placeholder that we talk about when items need to be discussed in our discussion items is the Pollard Middle School. So Michael, if you don't mind, I know we've all been in meetings, between chairs and everything. Can you give us just the Cliff Notes version of where we stand of right now? Just because I know one of our commissioners is a coach also, and just kind of like an open dialogue of just a brief synopsis of it. And if there are any questions that we have during this, just to, like I said, have an open discussion and answer these questions, or if we want to wait to ask questions at the end, we can do so. But, all right, so just, a brief overview of where the school committee stands, and then maybe even go into some upcoming meeting days that we have on the agenda or on the calendar.
Sure. No, thank you for that. And I appreciate the opportunity to sit amongst you this evening, representing the school committee, but also here is an opportunity to hear what you're thinking, answer any questions, clarify anything as needed. At the present moment, sort of where we stand with the project, and as you're probably already aware, I don't know how far back we need to go, but we have moved forward with the design team. They have come up with some just initial findings with the several sites that we're proposing. And what we have done is move forward with 7 options that we presented to the MSBA earlier this month. Those options being basically just minor small upgrades to the current Pollard building. The other is doing a more comprehensive ad reno, either as a 6 through 8 or 7 through 8 school. The next being utilizing the field space at Pollard is either a 6 through 8 or a 7 through 8. And then the last being at DeFazio, considering a 6 through 8, 7 through 8. So those are the 7 options. We met last week, 7 committees, chairs, to sort of all hear the same updates with the design team, with Hank and Merrill, who are sort of leading on the town side, of sort of where we're at, an opportunity for the 7 chairs and vice chairs of town committees, and those being, just so to make sure I don't miss everyone, school committee, select board, FinCom, Parks and Recreation, Conservation Commission, Planning Board, PPBC, which is also acting as our school building committee, and as mentioned already, the school committee. So those boards, chairs, vice chairs convened, had a good discussion, lots of sort of questions to continue to discuss in terms of these options. One thing that was proposed through myself and Elisa and school committee was to convene as a summit. So the 7 boards to have a bigger dialogue with the full committee, and just looking at calendars and dates and what could potentially work with all the other standing town meetings, and trying to get something going sooner. We've identified September 25th at 6:30 for all 7 committees to convene. And that will happen at Broad Meadow. So we welcome and have heard that there might be some scheduling challenges with some of the commissioners, but for those that can attend, we're happy and excited to have a presentation. But then also what we're looking to do is have this as an opportunity for the different board members in sort of their different hats that they wear to break up into small groups and sort of ask questions. Each time we meet with the design team, there's sort of a new, oh, well, we haven't thought about this, or we haven't asked this question yet. And this is that opportunity for us as town leaders in our roles to come together, continue to sort of have an open dialogue, ask questions, probe with our designers as we continue to move forward with this process. We also last week had a very good community meeting that some of you participated in, and we appreciate your attendance there and listening to questions from the community. We'll continue to have those types of community meetings. We're going to be offering tours, several tours, one in October, one in November. We also have sort of a public hearing coming up in November too. So other opportunities for the community to ask questions at large, in addition to in sort of these board pieces here. What we're in the process of trying to get to is continuing to narrow down our options. And so that by the end of sort of the fall in December, we will present one plan through to the MSBA. And our timeline is such that we're looking to do that. We'll need to potentially consider, depending on what options we move forward with, need to think about different zoning considerations that might need to be taken under in early 26, then presenting through to town meeting in spring of 26, and then ultimately prepping for a potential override to be considered for fall of 26. So thinking all the way out there, sort of working our way back to where we are today. I would say that the other piece that's very specific to the school committee is that we also have approved an education plan that supports the vision of this whole project. So why are we doing this project to begin with? And so there is a very comprehensive, roughly 100-page document that details so much in terms of the educational benefits that we're proposing with this building. Big piece there is that the school committee is in full agreement that we would look to move forward with a 6th grade and trying to bring in High Rock back into our 7 and 8 school experience, which in the longer term will free up once that school is built, and when Mitchell, as part of a bigger master plan, is under renovation. Those students can move into High Rock, and then ultimately in time, High Rock becomes a 6th elementary school years down the road, but sort of part of that big master plan. So that's where we're at today. I stopped there and see if you have any questions from that.
So just to also let you know, I did print out the timeline that was attached to the PVVC open meeting. So that is the timeline. So everyone has in front of them. I printed up and it should be actually on the 3rd page of that one. That was also the email that Dr. Gudican sent out. And just, you know, so people are looking at those dates, that I know you called out the summit meeting. We'll put a pin in that for right now. We'll go some other ones. That just to be, if you could just point out the dates again of when you expect to make decisions, final decisions, just so everyone here in the commission understands exactly the time frame, because I know it's a lot of dates right there in front of it. Just highlight some of the ones that necessarily not.
Yeah, I would say the biggest one sort of coming up for this group would be the 25th. If you're able to participate in the first of 2 board summits. The next being, we are looking to have, it was going to be more of a community meeting, but now it's sort of being brought into a public hearing. That's going to be on November 17th. And then the week following that, right before Thanksgiving, would sort of be Board Summit 2. Where at that point, we might be in a space that we're really narrowing down to one preferred option, as we've had several months to convene, hear from the community, have the boards have different dialogue to share ideas and the hopes to get there. We definitely heard that in our chairs meeting last week, and how we can get to fewer options so that we can dig deeper sooner. And then it would be December 8th, where we're sort of making our consideration of what is that final project that we'd like to move forward with. And getting that submitted to the MSBA by the 15th of December. So those are sort of like our key dates. Thank you for asking for sort of like those callouts. But there's a lot of things happening between now and then with lots of other meetings.
Okay. One thing I want to jump to, and then I'll ask the commission, any follow-up questions, things like that. In regards to, because I know we're coming up on this and you want to be on the public record of the summit meeting on the 25th, that is expected to have as many, if not all boards there, that due to job, I don't say qualifications, already predetermined job meetings and things like that. We're not sure if we will have a quorum of Park and Rec commissioners at this, that we are going to talk about it tonight of who can make it and who can't. But I just want to prepare you that we will probably not have a quorum or all commissioners there for engagements that we already had set up. So my question to ask you is there something that you need from the Park and Rec prior to this meeting as either another letter or something? Just because we won't have full representation, we will have some, but I know there are going to be certain breakout groups that we can't be everywhere in all the breakout groups. Is there something that you want from the Park and Rec prior to this meeting that will help answer a question or something along those lines that will help the whole group of people that are going to be at the summit?
Thank you for that question. And thank you also for those that are able to attend. Again, if this had been mentioned earlier prior to our meeting starting, coming up with these dates, there's town meetings, as we know, there's multiple big meetings happening today and throughout the week. So that was the date that was sort of identified on the 25th. So thank you for those that can participate. I would say one thing that and if this has already been shared through to the design team, what has been helpful as we've had interactions is understanding all the different user groups that may be impacted while this might be happening at all sites. So whether it's at the current sort of Pollard closer to the train track, and then DeFazio. And so in particular, I'd say more so in DeFazio, because that is going to be the space that would be helpful to have documented, just so that the design team can sort of reference. And if that has already been shared through, which fields might be impacted depending on which site, I think would be certainly helpful. What is happening from now in the coming weeks is that we know that there's a lot of information that we still need to know. So traffic, the wetlands that are on certain sites. It abuts the train tracks depending on where you're looking at. So how does that affect the building that's going to be going on in one site? Or if it's next to the DPW. So those are all studies that the design team are uncovering. And if there's anything that you can add to that in terms of traffic, in terms of any of sort of like the wetland and flooding that you've experienced over periods of time, depending on what fields, and I think that you've shared that in previous meetings, that might be helpful to know that, oh, the Pollard fields flood, and so you're trying to build a school there and just recognize that there's specific issues to sort of already know in advance. So I'd say those would be a couple of things that would be helpful if we can gather some of that information beforehand. As the design team's doing their own study, you may already have quantified data or anecdotal data of like, during peak sports season, how many cars are trying to turn into DeFazio, or, what that sort of process all is.
Right, that
They
was one
are.
of, yeah, so they are gonna,
They're doing their own, but having passed and because they're looking at from today. And you could look to like the spring or other times of year to sort of help provide some context.
I will open up to the commission of who questions to
Yeah.
get first hand raised.
Thank you. I don't have like the specific data, but I can speak to experience of traffic there. It is it's already a current issue, so, especially on certain nights of the week. First of all, there are, at least 6 sports that play there, so there's softball, baseball, there's track, cross country. And I'm talking girls and boys, soccer, and then, of course, field hockey, so that's like at least 6 groups that are affected. Regardless of what field is affected, it would affect everybody in the traffic part of it. There are nights where, the traffic is backed up on Dedham Ave going into town center. And that's not an exaggeration. And that's now with as many spots as there are, and that's simply from, a lot of it is the transition between drop off and pick up between one sport or the other. And so my concern is, I would be concerned with the flow of traffic and the issues that it would cause there. And, when the design team came last time, they talked about, well, we don't think it would affect this because only this field will be affected, but the truth is that the traffic is a problem no matter what or who is there right now, and I just think that it's definitely something that needs to be like heavily researched and an actual traffic study done and shared with us also. I know we'd like to see that in writing, what that study is, and I think it should be done at the times where it is busy there currently, not just, like wouldn't wanna do it on like a Friday night when all of it's happening on Tuesday and Thursday nights or Saturday. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think whatever study is done, it should be done in a way that whoever's there is there at different days and different times of the week. Cause from my experience as a coach there, both youth and high school, anytime I've been there, it's been an issue. Whether it's a youth sport or a high school sport happening, and I just think it would be very disruptive.
No, I mean, I would agree
Overall.
too, is that you get the perfect storm of where you have your high school athletics of multiple towns and multiple fields being used. Right as that cutoff time's happening, you're now going into your youth sports, so you have a big mass trying to leave. And even a same size mass or bigger mass trying to come in, and you can only fit,
Mm,
5 pounds into a 5-pound bag, not 10 pounds.
Yeah.
So and you're right, it doesn't happen every day, but the days that it does happen, I mean, we've asked police details. And they even say, yeah, it's just, it's gonna be a problem. And just because of the access to it and the way it is. I mean, you could go back and say it wasn't designed right 80 years ago, but hey, we're not redoing the road right there, so.
right, and I think they had mentioned too, like, well, we can, reroute through the neighborhood, but that is a terrible idea, because then it's gonna affect a whole neighborhood that it wouldn't have affected necessarily before this. That's not utilized for traffic or flow of traffic, and my concern would also be like access to emergency vehicles, like that they get in and out quick enough. So it's definitely for me as a coach and a commissioner. And also somebody who had children that were in the school system, not anymore, but I can see where people would be concerned with just the traffic piece of it alone.
Right, I think, and also at the last meeting, because, and with this on your part of. DeFazio is also used for a med flight location.
Yeah.
That is very serious thing. That is one of the things I hope a helicopter doesn't have to land there, that because it means nothing serious is happening, but if it does. A construction site and things going on, I can't even imagine what something like that would be. So it's just, it would be a great concern.
And can I add one thing onto that just very quickly too, Chris?
Mhm.
Also, so, we talk about education, and of course, we all want the best and we want a great education and facilities for our children, but for me, sports, you can look at sports, whether it's youth or high school, there's a growing body of research that suggests there's a correlation between sports activity and educate academic performance as well, and it also enhances the mental health and well-being of our kids who do participate in the sports. And I know personally from coaching now, there's a high prevalence of anxiety with children now, more so than I've ever seen in my 30 years of coaching across the board. And I think being able to have access to that still and it not being disrupted would be really beneficial to the athletes.
Thank you for that information.
You're welcome. Yes.
I would say to the point that you had asked, Chris, about information, and if this goes back to sort of the traffic, if you're able to provide, if it hasn't already been already, if you have a snapshot of sort of, oh, it's this weekday is like the crux of these number of teams that are here. And then to compare that with a weekend or if it's a Friday night. So the design team, as you're doing these studies, can sort of look at, okay, when it's at its like peak moment, and then to compare it with sort of a lighter day would be helpful to have. And I would say, yes, I am a parent in town with 2 boys who have been very active at different fields over the years and continue to be at DeFazio or Pollard. And so with whatever sport that might be playing, I see that, I hear that from parents, and I would say that safety is paramount for all of our kids, all of our families. And so however things move forward, that will be paramount to making sure that that is never in jeopardy.
I know one thing just from getting the daily or weekly emails is we could be able to pull up all of our permits that we have for spring, summer and fall. But also the athletic director for the high school has been great. I know I've been getting the emails, but it is a eye chart of all the activities that they have, and it blocks out what field being used during that time. And that is a great roadmap to use of what we have for permanent groups. And then because we don't know necessarily all the high school schedules, because things change and things like that. So it's almost like a weekly type of thing that, yeah, it could identify Tuesdays are probably the worst days to be there. And then next week, it could be Wednesday the next week, but where you get that schedule, it is blocked off and you know exactly what field, what time, what organization is there. And it is an eye chart, but it is a very helpful eye chart with a request like that, in my opinion.
Great.
So
Thank you for that question.
Cindy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So Mike, we've been, as a commission, been open and vocal that we would not like this project to happen at DeFazio. We think it's not only disruptive, but long-term, it's got some poor implications for that whole athletic complex. Do you need something from us to officially say that? We sent a letter that was pretty blunt, I think, right? It was pretty direct. I personally would like to see this option not considered, taken off the table. It's not my place to say that, and it's not my project. I think it's your project with EPC or in conjunction. I may ask my commissioners tonight to take a vote on that we have an official stance that says we would like this taken off the consideration list. Is that something that you would be looking for? Would that be helpful or?
That certainly would be helpful. I would say that, I don't know the technicality of what documentation would be needed or required in terms of, we have senior letter, and thank you for sharing that piece there. So that would be something I would need to further look into from your commission of what would be needed to sort of say, you know, and we as a project aren't going to move forward because as we know that there's certain land components and how we there's just a lot of other variables associated with this. What I would ask of the commission, and if this is something that, and again, we're looking towards the summit and how this sort of informs as we move forward with these 7 options and trying to narrow things down. We appreciate the questions, the participation, the letter that has been provided. I would say for myself as a school committee member and chair, I'm just looking for information at this stage. And so if the design team came back and we have all these studies and we uncover that there are options that we have not as a town fully discovered because they've done this in other towns, or they've done this in other communities, or just from a fresh set of eyes, they've looked at different things. At this moment in time, I'm trying to keep an open mind about all these different options. I definitely see the positives and challenges for all sites. I was at DeFazio over the last couple of days at different times of day, just to get a sense of it from my own sort of personal perspective. And so I would say, as we're continuing to sort of narrow things down, if you're open to still, let's just explore. And I say that because what we have seen, and we know that there would be some period of disruption, no matter what site we move forward with. If we were to fast forward to 2030, fill in the blank of the year, and you see a great new school built, and you see these new fields that have been developed because we've had some configuration, regardless of where the building ends up. We all have the same goal in mind. We want a great school for our kids. I would agree, Dean, with your comment in terms of the positive. So many different great things that come from youth and school sports. We all want that for our kids. And we all want a great community overall. And so how do we sort of get there? So if there is some openness to sort of continuing to think, oh, what would that look like if we reconfigured things within the Pollard site, or if we looked at DeFazio? So I say that, but to your point.
We actually talk about reconfiguring, because we've got 7 options. Are you talking we could come out of that with more options?
No, not more options, but in terms of the reconfigure that the school, like the Pollard site. You have the current Pollard building, add Reno within sort of the current sort of like footprint. And then there's sort of the other configuration, if you will, that ends up being closer to the fields, closer to the train tracks. So not that they were looking at any new sites or that some big new configurations, but just configuring in terms of the Pollard piece. And I would say that for DeFazio, and this is where there's still probably the questions, and that this came out in the chairs meeting. Access, what fields will be disrupted and at what point certain fields might be disruptive. And I'd say continue to ask for like, yes, we're gonna have to use a certain space. We're gonna have to alter some parking, and how do people get to those fields? But thank you for your piece. If there's something that, yes, at the end of the day, if you're looking to make a vote tonight, so that, we're looking to narrow down, I would say, from my perspective, I'm looking to narrow down the benefits of a 6 through 8 from an educational standpoint. And so if that 6 through 8 is at the current space, the different configuration within Pollard, closer towards the train tracks in the field, and then DeFazio, those are the 3 options I'd like to move forward with. And I think other members within the school committee would look to the 6 through 8 as what we're really trying to make sure happens. Where that sort of fits in, because there are the other configurations of the 7 through 8 versus the 6 through 8. Auditorium size is a big variable as well. And so that is where we're at, and hopefully at the summit, as we continue to ask questions, we might get to some level of consensus.
Honestly, I'm not feeling as open as you would probably like
Okay.
me to feel.
Sure.
I'm feeling like that this project, this overall building project has really focused on the video. And it kind of made it a preference, even though we've pointed out some things that we didn't think really were good. And I'm hesitant to go further without us making a decision, our commission, without us making a decision on what we think is right for this athletic and for the town. Your role is different than mine, right? And I understand what yours is to some degree, but I haven't been in your shoes.
Sure.
Nor have you been in mine. We do want great schools. I mean, we're all living here because of great schools, even education, but we also believe in parks and recreation and open
Sure.
space, and we think that, as Dean said, is key, particularly to children. But my concern is if we don't, I think we've drawn a line in the sand, and if we don't hold firm to that and take a vote, that this train is gonna be down the track. I feel like it's already down the track, and if we can change it, I think as a commission, I'm gonna recommend that we make that. I don't know how my fellow commissioners will vote
Right.
or how they feel. I mean, I have a sense, everybody signed the letter, but, that's where we are. If there is a message to take back tonight, maybe not taking a message back, it's that I'm probably gonna ask for us to vote. To take this off the table. And it may be that that doesn't pass, but it may be. And whether or not that holds and this project continues, that's out of our hands, but at least we'll have made our decision. And I just want to be open, so you know
Sure, no, thank you.
where we are. Because I'm not thinking I'm gonna go, I probably will be at that summit, but I may be the only one, maybe there'll be two of us, I don't think there'll be three of us.
Mhm.
And not going in expecting that we're going to revisit every site and redo what the designers have done, because certainly we're very qualified.
Sure.
So I guess I was wondering what it is that we're doing that. I'm happy to attend and happy to participate, but unless we're rejiggering everything, which I don't think we can do at this point, I'm not sure the purpose of it. But
Sure.
That's just right.
Thank you for that. I would just add that if you're referencing, things are sort of pointing towards the Fazio in some ways, if you're referencing the matrix that's been out there. That continues to evolve. It's something that we as school committee members have appreciated sort of again. Just some sort of system that sort of has been initially sort of created, but there still continues to be some attributes that aren't incorporated into that matrix. There's no weighting that's been incorporated in sort of like what are sort of like the true deal breakers. So if you look at like a traffic study and you see like, okay, there's just no way that depending on what the site is. So that's something that we're looking to as a guide, but I wouldn't say it's something that we're utilizing fully because it's not fully developed yet, but it's sort of a light out there that we're kind of looking towards, but not to say that, for myself at least, I have not. I'm looking at one specific option only, again, trying to keep an open mind to, what we're hearing and as we're continuing to make this evaluation in the timeline that we're trying to keep to. But thank you for that.
I do think due to the timeline as well, it's probably a good idea if as a commission, we were to discuss and
Sure.
make our. Feelings known.
I agree. We just had Michelle Geddes join us. Michelle, can you hear us? If Hannah will let you in.
She's just muted.
There she is. You can hear us?
Yes.
Okay, great. I know you just joined us and I know you've been sitting in a lot of the chairs meetings and other meetings that we had. We do have Michael O'Brien here from the school committee and kind of just, I thought it was good to bring everybody up on the same page here because I know we've all been kind of sporadic at meetings. And so, do you have any comments that you would like to make of what you've heard so far? Like, I hate to put you on the spot, but I just wasn't sure if there's anything that you would like to chime in with right now at all.
No, I mean, I think having had the opportunity to speak at the chairs meeting, I feel like my kind of concerns and comments were captured there. I know I missed the beginning of the time with Mike, but I feel like just having heard Cindy, I feel like there's consistency around the comments that were shared with my comments. So nothing from me.
Perfect. All right. I will just kind of, ride Cindy's coattails on this too, in regards to. I think the design firm that's doing the school does great work. I've researched their schools that they've done in the past, and I think they're a great thing to do for a school project like this. I also don't want to waste their time. That I think it helps you with a quick timeline that you folks are trying to get this done, which I know we talk, hey, we've got town meeting here, we've got town meeting there, just out of respect to everybody. I wouldn't want to be spinning my wheels on something that can't or shouldn't be looked at. I think it's respect wise to them of. It will also save a little bit of money, I would assume. Like, I don't know how much a traffic study costs. I don't know how much design plans cost for a concept that with such a big project like this, if there's anything, to do to kind of bring down the cost, even if it's, 0.001%. I mean, I think we owe that to it. And I think we owe it to the town meeting members that are going to be approving a say override like this, that anything we can do to kind of help the process and kind of take away the, again, waste the time. I don't like saying that, but just a way that we can help you with your timeline to do that. I think we owe it to out of respect of other committees to do something like that. So. Any further future comments from any of the commission?
I have one thing. It's not 100% related my kids went to the Needham schools and the sixth through eight versus seventh through eight.
Mhm.
My kids loved that, you know, leaving elementary school, going to a sixth grade only school. My son was in the first class at at Hierarchy. I thought, I know you guys are all leaning towards sixth through eight, but I thought it was a great way to get out of elementary school is to go to the sixth grade only as a break into middle school and then high school.
Thank you for your comments and appreciate the feedback as we hear from others who have shared the benefits of both that sort of
Cool.
sixth grade experience and then the benefits of what we're proposing through six to eight, but we appreciate that. Good to hear.
Any further kind of discussion on this topic? I think also, I mean, as Cindy noted, if this, again, with something of the timeline coming up, that at least we could, I think we, as the Park and Rec Commission, should get something on record. Just so it's out there. I know there's probably a formal process that we're gonna have to go through, at least a letter or an email or something along those lines of where we stand, but. I will make a motion right now to. Butcher how I'm gonna word this, so let me think it out here.
Mr. Chair, I'm happy to make the motion.
If you have something better brought up already, please do.
I'm thinking so. I just put it out, I would like to move that the commission vote to request that the DeFazio site option for the Pollock project be removed from consideration for construction of a new school.
Okay,
That would.
I mean, we're kind of open discussion right now. Does anybody of the other commissioners have anything they would like to add to that motion? All right, hearing none, so we have a motion. Do we hear a second?
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this topic? All right, hearing none, what I will do is that since Michelle Geddes is joining us via Zoom, we'll have to do a roll call vote, so I will go to Michelle Geddes first.
Okay.
One more time, you kind of cut off.
Aye.
Thank you. James Rosenbaum. Dina Hannigan.
Aye.
Cindy Chaston.
Aye.
Chris Gerstl is the chair, is also an aye, so unanimously passes the motion. So just again, out of the respect wise of letting people know that there will probably be a formal process of how it will be sent, but we just wanted to get it on record to, again, make everybody aware.
Cindy, not to interrupt, did you say you had that written down?
I do.
Okay, because the audio apparently isn't picking it up and there's no way I picked up that
Okay,
word
I-
for word, so I'll
I
need a
can either
copy of
say it
that.
to you or I can write it down.
Yeah,
afterwards, but
perfect.
I wrote it out now. so-
Thank you.
All right, perfect. Now we will go back to our regularly scheduled meeting of, we'll go into the director's report that we also have our director, Stacy Mulroy, that is joining us via Zoom. Stacy, are you there?
She's here.
Okay.
I'm here.
Do you want to go into the director's report, or since we have Hannah here, I mean, it's, if you both want to do it, just put Hannah on the spot. Whoever wants to speak about it, they're more than welcome to, but you,
I have it pulled up, Hannah, if you want me to do it.
yes, I'm sorry, yes.
You're all right, thank
You're
you.
right, thank you very much. I think it had to be excused. I'm sorry, my mistake. So,
Participation.
Thank you.
I know, yes,
Good luck with the rest of your.
no
week.
problem. Thank you very much.
We'll be in touch.
Stacy, the floor is yours if you would like to handle.
So I am sharing it on my screen. Not that you guys can see it, but Michelle can, and whoever else is online. So the director's report, I'll go through it pretty quickly. Because a lot of these numbers stayed the same from last week. So these are the court badges to date. Court badges we continue to sell right now because the fall is a good season to play. I do want to remind everybody with these numbers that are coming up, we just went live registration last Wednesday. So when I was doing these numbers, we'd only been live for 2 days. So we may have a significant influx before our next meeting, certainly, or even next week. Pool numbers stayed the same. One of the things that I had mentioned last week is I ran these daily passes, which are in your email. Just so you can understand what the membership prices versus the daily passes look like, both the numbers and the revenue. Swim lessons stayed the same, swim team stayed the same, camp, all of those things stayed the same. I did pull up our fall programs. So again, our numbers are fairly small right now, but in the 2 days that we were taking registrations and the time that I made this, we took in just over $20,000 for 2 days. So fall programming is off to a good start. It's kind of all over the map, some small numbers, but as you can see, our senior programs and our adults programs are killing it right now. So.
Well, Stacy, we would also say, not to interrupt you, is that we know just by looking at this, there are certain ones we know are going to multiply significantly, like the spooky walk. That's probably gonna have
Yes.
another 0 attached to it, not 20 kids, probably
At
200
least,
kids.
at least, yes.
You know, so again, I think it's great that it's a start, but with the new software system that we have, that these numbers are gonna keep on growing and growing and growing.
Yep, definitely. Quick updates on the courts. I know Hannah sent these off to you earlier today. Is that correct? My days are getting a little foggy and I apologize for that. So, courts are on track. We did have to hang signs that said, please keep off wet paint because we already had some children of a certain age jumping the fence and walking on the wet courts, which left footprints,
Wow.
and then the contractor had to fix that. So, this fence, one of the fences in the pictures, between, I believe it's 7 and 8. They're shorter fences for the new, not on the front and the back, but between them, they're 4-foot fences, and so it's not that difficult to jump the fence. But we zip tied all the gates, we put up some signs, and we are certainly hoping for the best moving forward.
Do they have a timeline of when they'll be off the site? Like, I know we're kind of at like the 90% phase. Do we have even like a close timeline, like, hey, in the next 2 weeks or by the end of September, they should be fully good to go?
So I was supposed to text the engineer earlier today, Justin Saviano, and ask that same question for Burnham, and I didn't. So I'm going to do it right now, or when we're done with this, just to double check. But I know that they started working on the platform over at the football field, the accessible platform that we had talked about last week.
Yes.
So they've already started working on that, which means that, and the same contractors that are doing the tennis courts are doing that. So it means they're close enough to the end that they are able to pull some people off to do the other thing. So
Good. Yep.
I'm gonna try and
That's
get
all
up there
we have.
tomorrow and see what else I can find out for everyone.
Perfect. Because I know the schools also want to use that for outdoor classrooms while the weather is still nice.
Absolutely.
Perfect then. Okay.
So would I.
Great. How are we looking on Claxton? I know that pretty much the final step is just to get that grass grown and not be destroyed. Any update on that?
So we are gonna have a meeting either tomorrow or Wednesday with DPW. So for those of you that don't know, we have been pushing off the opening to Claxton because some of the sod got fried and we're trying to bring it back to life. We were hoping it was going to be the next 2 weeks. The small hiccup that has come up this week is the drought and the level 1 water restrictions. So we're in a level 1 water restriction, and there's some conversation about watering and irrigation. So we need to try to push back and continue to let Claxton be irrigated a few times a week so that we can get that sod up and growing. Otherwise, when we're gonna have to replant and reseed everything before the winter comes, before the first snow comes. So there's going to be more finesse than I originally thought because of the drought. There is an exception when you're laying new sod that you can irrigate while you're bringing it, while you're trying to get it to root. However, it has rooted technically. It's just that it got fried. So we're going to try and work on that. I talked to Eddie and Mike, and Hannah was there too this morning, a little bit about it to try and figure out what our best path forward is. So I will
Is
keep you
Eddie
posted
back or
on
is he
that one.
still out?
He's back.
Eddie is back.
Already?
He's limping around, but he is back.
Guy has meniscus tear and all of a sudden he's back the next week. Can't believe it.
He tore his meniscus.
I think it was.
Yeah, he had
Yeah.
surgery last week.
Wow,
So-
good for him.
That is the
Okay, perfect.
update.
Anything else in regards to the director's report from the commissions that they have any questions?
Let them correct it. No, I have no questions.
Stacy, I hope you're sitting down. Cindy does not have a question.
I did hear that. I did hear that. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy. The report was so complete. I have not one, so thank you.
Fantastic.
Mine.
So, all right. Let's jump back into the discussion items that I know sometimes it's tough to have an awkward conversation, but I'm extremely proud of where the Park and Rec Commission stands right now in regards to the Pollard project.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of factors that are there, and I mean, I've said numerous times in meetings, we're not against schools. It's just, we have to look for the stewardship of the jurisdiction of the land that we're on, and we are going to fight for the land that we have. And I just want to commend all the commissioners for their input, their questions, their suggestions, and all of them were good. It's a question that then breeds another question and then another question, that it's not an easy ask to do this. But to come up with everything that we've had and still have more questions coming down the line. I just want to say it was a great accomplishment and, you know, pride to have everyone kind of standing up together for a project like this and where the Park and Rec stands on their land. So thank you all. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anything, so going through the discussion items, also commission policies. I know that Stacy, you attached. Let's go around here, the field user manual.
Hannah, you want to do the manual first? Okay. Sure. I'm gonna share that. I had something else up, but I can pull that up.
What do we do?
Sorry, I have like 100 things open. All right. So yes, this is the manual that was last
Mhm.
updated and improved in January
Thank you.
Yep.
of 2024. And so
yeah,
one of the
sorry,
things,
go ahead.
couple of the, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was gonna go over things, but you have something teed up, so go ahead.
Yes and no. There's a couple things that I think need to be clear and concise that are not that were brought up by Needham baseball softball this past spring. Namely, when our appeal process, the timeline of the appeal process, and things like that. And I want to make sure that it is more clear in our manual. The other thing that I think needs to be clearer is the priority of organizations and timelines. And I found this somewhere, Cindy, and your brain is like a steel trap, so you might remember this, but at some point, if the high school athletics have to go past 6 o'clock, it was written that there cannot be more than 3 nights per varsity sport. So whether it's,
Yeah.
and that's for boys and girls.
I think that's correct. So
Yeah.
I don't
So I think
remember
we-
the saying.
Right. And I'm sure it's in the T drive somewhere, so I can pull it up, but there have been
Just-
more and more requests to go past evenings, 6 o'clock from the schools athletics and the weekends. Part of the issue that the schools are having is umpires and referees. So they're struggling to get them. The games are starting later, that we have more and more sports. So I just want to make sure that that is clear moving forward so that when the athletic directors are making their schedule, they can work to stay within those boundaries.
So Stacy, my recollection, which is a little bit hazy, goes back to the Field of Dreams, and it was that, there was a concern that the community raised a lot of money. We had some private donors who were very generous to the fields. And the concern was that the youth groups could get shortchanged by the high school sports. And the people who donated the money were concerned with both youth and I'm gonna say youth, meaning younger kids, as well as the high school, but there was some concern that the high school may dominate and that the fields wouldn't be as available as everybody thought they should be. So I think that was the reasoning it doesn't mean that now with what you're describing as the problems that high school sports are facing, doesn't mean that shouldn't be revisited, because maybe it should be revisited. But that was the idea, that they didn't, the concern was, well, we're gonna have these beautiful fields, and now high school's gonna just take them over.
Yeah,
And the taxpayers, well, they've paid a lot of money to keep these fields up.
Yeah.
They didn't pay so much to have these fields installed, it was private money. So there was just kind of a consideration that we wanted to have. But again, that was, really almost 20 years ago.
Right.
Also, I think.
And-
Oops, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I just think it needs to be revisited. Do we want to have some sort of boundaries? Do we want to have some sort of regulation? And I know the first few years I started, when the youth groups do get bumped, I know Patty made them sort of share the bad
Everyone
will.
gets a bite of the
When
sandwich.
yeah, everybody got bumped the amount. We don't have any of that in writing either, and I think we can put what it can be broad, but I think that is also something we need to add to this if we're going to put some sort of stipulation on how many times the high school athletics can sort of take over the fields later and later, and how frequent per season. So I don't think. I want to make sure I can find the original in writing so that we can start from somewhere. But unless you guys have a solid reason, I imagine this is going to be a conversation to update the policy and then approve it.
I got one question. I just want a point of clarity here. So the high school cannot take over a field for 3 consecutive nights. Now, is that of the same sport or any high school? So we'll use Memorial as the example. Needham High School soccer has it on Monday night, Needham lacrosse has it on Tuesday night, and Needham football hypothetically has it on Wednesday night.
But it's
That would
not.
be
It's not 3 nights in a row. It's
the
any
3
given.
nights off.
So it's varsity team. So let's say boys soccer can go late 3 nights per season.
Oh, per
Girls
season. Okay.
soccer can do 3 nights per season. Boys lacrosse, girls lacrosse, like whatever it is. So it's every varsity. Only varsity is what the original was, not JV or freshman or anybody else. So it's 3 nights per season per varsity sport.
Yeah, of course. It's open.
So I have been kind of like talking to friends of mine and people I know who coach in other towns, because it's a lot. Like I noticed since, Ryan's been here, and I'm not saying it's his fault, but I'm just saying, like, there's been more and more requests for the fields at night, and that's a lot, like three per varsity sport. I mean, it's potentially could dig into a good chunk of a youth season. And so I've been doing a little research, and of the towns I've talked to, there were, I think, at least 3 or 4 of these towns who have firm, strict 6 p.m. the fields are youths. And they allow 1 night per varsity sport for like a senior night. But that's it. Like, I think there has to be, I'm not saying we should do that, but I think 3 nights of varsity sport is just too much. And then what happens if it digs into and I'm speaking about any youth sport, like it's field space is already at a premium here and already an issue. And so I just think that I know a lot of people of other youth organizations are upset about this as well, like the more high school requests. I definitely think this is something we have to like really sit down and talk about soon and figure out.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
there's a couple things on that. One, I did talk to Ryan this year, and it was never communicated, and that's on us because I just found it recently. Because a
Yeah.
youth organization brought it to my attention. So it wasn't communicated well to him. I did talk to him this year. He was like, "Oh my God, I've never heard of that." I said, "I understand. Let's try and work as much as we can together this season."
Yeah.
I also would be interested in finding out from those other towns, does the high school have their own fields? Cause in this town, they don't.
Yeah,
Technically,
a
none
couple
of the
them did.
fields that the high school uses are
Yeah.
like, and I know
Right,
like the
right.
town I grew up in, the high school used a lot of different fields, but they also had some of their own fields.
Yeah, yeah,
And then the last thing, just because I want to be clear, the Friday night football games are exempt from the 3-night rule.
right, right.
That's the only caveat on that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, yeah, I can get you the info of the people of the towns I talked to, whether they had their own fields or not, and what their policy was. I can remember two off the top of my head that did not really have it was kind of hazy whether they had their own fields or not, but these were just athletic complexes, like, so like there's a new athletic complex that was just built in the like Walpole-ish area. And, they have a
Yes.
firm at 6 o'clock, it's youth only, and that's shared by everybody, it's kind of similar to DeFazio.
Yeah, same
but
for
I
the
can
weekends
s-
in Walpole, because my
I'm
kids
not sure
go
about
to
the
school there.
weekend, but I can find out.
But again, we also have
The
that
youth groups
kinda-
have first dibs on timing on the weekends. It doesn't mean that the high school can't have any time, but they do have
Right,
like,
right,
they
yeah.
get like
Premium.
Saturday
Yes,
mornings, Sunday
yes.
mornings, that kind of thing.
yes, yes,
But we also kind of, it could be written or it could not be written, but that rule of, say, a sports game goes a little bit late of the high school and maybe goes into 6:10 or 6:15. All the user groups just, that was just the way you dealt with it. Like,
Yeah,
hey, that
that's-
game ran
Yeah,
late, great,
yeah.
we're starting late. That's just the
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
it is.
Those
But
were,
I
yeah,
think that was-
considered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so.
But I
mean,
think to
looking-
Cindy's point, like the Field of
Mhm.
Dreams was 20 years ago, right? There were fewer varsity teams
yeah,
at the time.
Fewer of everything, fewer sports.
Right,
also.
fewer sports, fewer varsity teams, fewer youth sports, fewer youth kids, everything has changed drastically, so I think just revisiting it and getting in writing, along with the appeals process update, so that that is clear, so that if it does happen again, we have a timeline we can actually meet and deliver on.
Okay.
Stacy, can I get clarification really quick? So you said in Needham, on the week, if the high school were to request a weekend morning, because they want to practice, it's youth, if youth is scheduled, they don't get that time, is that what you were saying, or no?
They won't automatically get the time if the youth organization wants to trade with them. That is a thing that has happened. And typically when we hit playoff season, the youth groups
Yeah.
are much more, willing to work with the high school, certainly because
Yes.
they have games and they want to practice all that. So we don't get
Yeah.
a ton of requests for practices on the weekends. We do get a few requests for games.
Oh, okay, okay,
Stacy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we also wanted to sprinkle in a little bit about how permit users need to be kind as well.
Oh, yes, we've had,
Yes, we do need to have that.
they
Oh, geez,
do.
wow, Michelle coming in, wow.
We,
All right,
we
what
had
happens?
we had a situation with a resident, a permit holder, not saying whether it was a special event or an athletic group. But this person did go at some town staff employees, some seasonal staff of Eddie's, and it did not go well for this person. So I think we do have to write it in that you don't get to light into people about anything. And you shouldn't be talking to 16-year-old kids that way. But I think we've had issues in the past about, drinking on facilities, smoking on facilities, bad language at facilities. So I think we should write in some sort of code of conduct. Basically the same code of conduct we put everywhere. And also Woo is basically being buried in trash already.
it's
And
crazy.
unfortunately, a
Mhm.
lot of it's high school.
Yep. I know on Sunday, up
It
in
was
Memorial, it
horrific.
was overflowing.
Same as
Because you had your
DeFazio.
high school game on Friday and then you had your Pop Warner, I think, on Saturday, then followed by a youth soccer game after and the trash rows were just overflowing. That was just at Memorial. I would assume it would be the same
Tefazio
at
was
Tefazio
horrible
also.
Saturday,
It's
Sunday morning. I
everywhere.
don't know who
It's
was
everywhere.
before
We also
us, but it was
had
bad.
we also had Ellie Bloom this weekend, so there was an
Oh.
ample amount of people at the Fazio.
Yeah.
Ellie Bloom?
It's this coming weekend, isn't it?
Oh, is this
On-
coming weekend?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's happening, it's happening.
Nice try.
That's on Saturday, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we just need, I don't know. I just, it's not the end of the world to bring a garbage bag and some latex gloves. We pick up our trash, it's not ours. It's like this idea of, well, it's not mine, so I'm not picking it up is actually driving me crazy. Like, can't we just all help each other? Like, seriously, like, if you see trash, pick it up. It's everybody's med kits. Get some gloves out of your med kit and throw it out. That's what I do. Like,
Yeah.
I just.
And I've gotten some complaints saying your park ranger yelled at me about the trash, and I'm like, I know who my park ranger is. He doesn't know how to yell. He's not yelling at
Yeah.
anybody. He is like he's just asking you to pick up after yourself, and we need you to do that.
So
Like,
Stacy, how about we move the code of conduct right to the front of the policies?
yeah, absolutely.
The
That's a great
manual,
idea.
And
Yeah.
strengthen the language, but put it right up front.
And I do
It's
think,
Up front center.
I like that idea.
and I think we need to educate too, like, at the coaches meeting at the high school, there's always like an all coach meeting before each season. I did speak and talk about Woo. I think he's underappreciated, and I think coaches, I know I tell my high school girls who Woo is when he shows up and to thank him for everything he does. And I think we need to, our coaches should like know who Woo is and talk to their teams about Woo. And he's not the bad guy, like he's viewed as this like bad guy, but he's not. He's awesome and he's only one person and he does a lot. And I just think it wouldn't hurt to send out some sort of, I'm happy to draft it if you want, some sort of email that goes to all of our coaches, youth and, the athletic department. To talk, have a little talk with your players about who Woo is and what he does for us and. It's upsetting to see people, I've seen people talk to him in a bad way and it bothers me a lot.
And you can't blame a person for doing his job. He's doing
Right.
exactly what he was
Right.
supposed to do but it kind of falls on us too, or even the town, is that we couldn't enforce, we couldn't be everywhere that we could. We never had a park
Right.
ranger. It would start off as a pilot program. And I think he's making great strides and I agree, I will echo it. It frustrates me that people are upset that we're enforcing the rules
Yeah.
that should have been done all the time.
I've seen kids be really disrespectful to him and that comes from the coach, I'm sorry, like, I just, it's upsetting, I could go on forever about this, so I won't, but I think it wouldn't hurt to. Reach out, I don't know, I know you guys have a lot on your plate, like I said, I'm happy to draft something, but I just think, like, talk to your players about who Woo is, he's not a bad guy, he does a lot of good things. And we need to treat him with respect.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll
the
get
amount of
off my
times we've had
soapbox.
to get police involved or some of our different schools involved because of the chaos that he has to deal with, it's more often than it
Really?
should be, frankly, yes.
That's
He often has to call
ridiculous.
PD. And we encourage him
Ridiculous.
to, like, he shouldn't have to deal with
yeah.
Oh,
people
no,
that
you
are,
shouldn't
you
have
know,
to.
borderline
Yeah,
harassing
yeah.
him, but we've also had to, like, with some middle schoolers, we got the schools involved, the SRO involved, and they were all
Good.
super helpful. We were all on the same page, but again, just the fact that we have to do that to protect him
It's
is
ridiculous. It's entitlement, and it's really upsetting.
What's an SRO?
School resource.
school
officer.
resource officer. The police officer
Okay.
that is usually in and out of the schools to help with the kids.
Ah,
They do not wear a
I've seen-
uniform.
And it's Joe, by the way, Rienzi.
It is Joe Brizi. Rienzi.
I don't know how do you pronounce it?
Joe.
Rienzi?
Joe B.
Ghost
Joe?
dad? I don't know.
Joe, yeah,
Joe B.
Joe, just Joe.
All right, Stacy, what do you need from us in regards to this? Like, is there a date that you want language clarified by? I mean, what can we as a commission do to help you? Or is there bullet points that you
So-
want us to look at, or the sections you want us to look at?
Hannah offered, silly Hannah, to update the draft version of this. So once we work on that and use some of the language, unless you have specific language you want us to use, we're gonna pull from other places and update
Mhm.
it. What I would like the commission to think about and not discuss in a not public meeting is the appeals process.
Yes,
And
Um,
how exactly, what it looks like now, and how you want to update that, and paying specific attention to timelines, because if we're going to be held accountable to turn the appeals process around, I mean, the current one is next to impossible. But I do want to make sure that the commission has the specific voice for that process.
and I will ask this one request, and I know both between you and Hannah, you have a vast network of what do other towns or municipalities do? I know it falls on us, but if there are any instances or examples that other towns have used to say, hey, this worked, please feel free to share that with us, because that can really help us. But I mean, it does fall on our shoulders that we need to do it. But if there's any guidance from any other, people that
We
you work
can-
with in this industry.
Yeah, we can certainly reach out to our group. I will tell you it's going to take more than a week. They are currently all at the national conference. So there's about 40 or 50 park and rec directors and assistant directors and programmers that are currently down in Orlando at the conference. So they won't be responding to their email right now.
That's fine. Nope, that's fine.
I can
Okay.
also tell you that some towns are basically their appeal process is too bad. But I don't think that's the kind of town we're in. I'm just saying that
Yeah,
that does exist outside of here.
okay.
So can we use language, Stacy, that makes it much less specific? I mean, I would like language that says it is up to the director of park and recreation, and whether or not you want to say the assistant director also, or, one or the other, that's up to you folks.
Right. Or designee.
Yeah, or designee, and if it results in a denial, then there may be a request to the Park and Recreation Commission. And, we'll take it under advisement, but I don't like giving the specific timeline, seem really tight.
Does it say a week or 2 weeks?
But, they have to file it in
Two
5
something.
days, and then, the hearing has to take place not within 10 business days.
But with the structure of our meeting schedule, that's not even feasible.
Right, and then it will
Exactly.
come to us, but we have to do it within 5 business days, which doesn't make, it just isn't possible, because we don't
meet that often.
meet that often, we can't possibly.
We don't, yeah, I would agree, Cindy. We
Yeah.
don't have to have a timeline if you don't want it. And we can probably follow a similar policy to, like, if somebody says, I want to rent a field for my kid's birthday party, and we say, I'm sorry, we don't allow that. And they're like, well, I want to talk to the commission. We say, okay, you can email the commission, like, go ahead. And then it goes to you at the next meeting. It can be along those same guidelines.
Mhm.
Okay, I think I like something like that, that just takes out these very strict timelines that we're not gonna make, and so. Why commit to them if we can't do them? And I do think in most cases that the decision of the director and the assistant director should be final. I mean, it's gonna have to be a very unusual situation that the commission would override the director and assistant director, right? We would not substitute our decision for yours. I don't think, hardly ever. Right?
Agreed.
Agree.
Okay, perfect. Anything else we want to go over in regards to, I'm scrolling around here, commission policy, commission goals, anything from your end?
That was just the field manual.
That was just the field manual. Keep on going.
Well, there's more.
Oh, yeah. Let's keep on looking. The multi-purpose rooms that we're going to next, or what do we want to,
Not yet.
okay, where do
Yes,
you want
like, we can do that one next. That's fine.
Okay.
to
I don't know that I got them the goals and responsibilities, Hannah, because Excel kept crashing at my house, which seemed ridiculous, but that's an IT problem, not a you guys problem, but
Okay, Let us go to that
This
then.
one I think has, and I don't know if if you have it in front of you. But basically, it was never decided on whether or not, like on paper, whether or not we were gonna rent the multi-purpose room that you're now sitting in into like outside groups. So, Needham Community Council, all of our sports groups, all of our departments, our PTCs, things like that, we have always allowed to rent or permit this room. Most, if not all of them, without a fee to use the room. There could be a janitorial fee or, building monitor fee, but we don't charge a fee to use the room. But like we brought you back this past spring, we've gotten a lot more requests to like hold the party after the Sweet 16, hold the
Oh,
party
right.
after the Bar Mitzvah, hold the party after the anniversary, hold the party after the wedding. But we just want to update the policy and then have you guys vote on it so we can approve it, take it out of draft form, and then post
Yeah.
it so that people understand A, how to request the room, and B, like just recently we got, first they asked for our room and then they asked for Memorial. We had a condo association asking to rent the room and we said, I'm sorry, we don't do that. And they said, but we're a condo association in Needham. And I said, well, it's only Needham based groups, not just residing in Needham.
I definitely think we need to make a decision or vote on this soon. I think I made it clear, like, I'm very much against that, use of this room. I think it has a lot of insurance, things that can happen. It's near a pool. I mean, if you could use alcohol for bar mitzvahs or what have you. I just think this is not a hall. This is, I mean, yes, for PTCs and sports groups and nonprofits or whatever. But like, I think we need to definitely make a decision here on this or a vote or whatnot.
No, I definitely agree. What do some of the other commissioners think about? We'll go down the line. We'll start with Cindy.
So I agree with Dina, not to bore you with the history, but when this building was built, some of the commission thought that this room should be used to make money by renting it out, some of the commission did not. We decided to wait and see how it went as we used the building and I was always on the side of, I didn't think that we should rent it out. There are those people who think we should make, any revenue generating situation, we should take advantage of for the town. I don't think it's a good idea. I think that you can rent Powers Hall and it's not next to a pool and you can get an alcohol permit and submit your insurance and all that, and I think that's what it should be.
Yeah.
This site is not that conducive, in my opinion, for
No.
that kind of situation.
I agree.
I think you have to word it very carefully. Because I don't want it to seem like we discriminate against any particular kind of a group or a function. I think we do feel like our sports groups, our PTCs, certainly if there was any town employee organizations, that this room is available for them. I'm not of the opinion that it should be rented out for birthday parties or wedding receptions or bar mitzvahs or any of those kinds of things. I don't know how we word that because it will be something a condo association would never have crossed my mind. But space is at a premium and it's hard to find space to have meetings. So I think if we determine to go there, we need to write it very carefully so that it's, again, not seeming like we're discriminating, but just that we want to be very careful with this town asset because it's valuable and because of where it is, next to a pool, it's on a hill, it's not as easy and as central as town.
I think we should like maybe view it the same as like we view permits, like Needham nonprofits, right? Schools, then Needham nonprofits,
Maybe.
and that's it, right?
Right,
Yeah.
I'm not sure, and I'm looking down the line at Jim, because I have a sense that Jim at one point may have said he thought we should use this to generate revenue.
I mean,
And I respect that position, so I'm happy to listen to that.
I think it should be used to generate revenue when it's available, but not for events that serve alcohol. I mean, you allow it to sports groups and to other things, there's not that much difference. there's not much difference between, a condo association meeting and a sports. I mean, like to say that there's a pool here, I mean, if no alcohol's being served. Or, you know, probably with the condo association, probably not even food even being used. So, I mean.
So you feel different, and it was a commissioner, I mean. Matt
I mean, on
Taylor, who
a,
was
on a
here,
case by
he's
case
felt that way.
basis, it should be. It should, I mean. This place was built to be used,
And it's being used, I think it's being
but,
used.
but also, money is very tight nowadays. It should be a consideration.
I mean, yes, I don't disagree, but if we were to, oh, the problem I have is that we were to open it up. It just opens up a can of worms and it's, yeah,
Can I just say something from the, the people that are here day in and day out?
Mhm.
It is used and it is used by the Needham groups. And coming from a place where we did let HOAs in the town that we resided in, lived in, worked in. I think just even with the amount of groups that we have in here that aren't Park and Rec, like we are the custodians, and I don't even wanna say we.
yeah.
I do wanna point out that it is not typically us setting up the room, it's Chris. I'm
Mhm.
not gonna cover for him. A lot of the setup for whatever happens in here is him. And it's very rare now where we have the luxury of having a custodian come over during the day to set these things up. And with half of the battle of, are things getting put into event manager? Are they emailing us and requesting the space because they're a Needham-based group? Half of it is trying to figure out if they're in the system or not, which we are trying to make sure that if you're a Needham-based group, you should be an event manager. That is the process that we are being told. That time is being taken out of what we presumably should be doing with our jobs. And like, I think that for the best efforts of our department, we're already trying to work as hard as we can as a 5-person department, trying to figure out who should be doing what. And it is very taxing. And I think if you start adding on top of that, I'll put it as like consistent rentals, like on the weekends and whatnot, because that's really what's only available. We are lucky that we have like the Monday nights, and everyone in this building kind of knows that that might be a commission meeting night. It might not, but like Wednesdays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, like that's ballroom dance. Fridays, every first of the month, that's kids' night out. Like we are using the space, and it is not as available as people think. And I think the people that are trying to use the space do get frustrated with us. But again, going back to the field manual, there is some priority, right? Like we work in this building. Public health also heavily uses this. They do span meetings in here. So it's not just Needham-based groups, but like that's more of a multi-regional group. So like it is pretty taxing as it is right now. And it's
I
it's
agree
a
with you.
lot.
I agree with you. I feel strongly about it too. I think that it should be. It's not gonna be worth a couple bucks it'll bring in, and I can tell you from experience, it is literally like I mean. I used this room for a meeting and I paid the janitorial, which was like $100-something bucks, like, is that worth? Like 5 people's, the department of 5 and their sanity, but I also just think I think it has to be like a firm. No, and this is who we do rent to, and that's it. I just think, because if you do for one, then they hear people talk, then you have to do, well, you let this and you did that, and then how are we different from that company, and how are we different from that group? I just think it's too much.
Michelle. Any comments?
Yeah, I would agree with just the challenges of renting out the space. I think we should reserve it for programming. I do think we should increase the amount of programming that we do in that space, which is sort of a different topic, but finding ways of utilizing it more, I think would be excellent for our own programming, but would not want to go down the route of renting it out for private parties. I like Dina's idea of keeping it consistent with the field usage, like that it's not, we're not renting the fields out for private use and we're not renting out the space. It just makes it very clean and consistent in terms of the kind of parcels of property and land that we oversee. So I think that that's a really good compromise. And I think just the challenges of the administrative part of managing scheduling for a room for kind of individuals' personal use is just not what we want to be, not how we want our department to be spending their time. So like to me, that's like just a resounding no. That's just, we don't have the ability to manage it, nor do we have the interest in, allowing others to use it.
Yes.
I mean, believe me, I see both sides and both valid points, but I do see that's not the reason why we built this room or why we built this complex, is that there are locations that are specifically made for functions that we're hearing about. You have the Village Club, you have the VFW, you have the Needham Sheridan. They can hold larger and better run events than we can. We don't have a kitchen. Or if we do, it's a very small kitchen. We don't have a lot of the amenities that other locations do. Is that it's somewhat of an expectation to have those at certain events that we're not going to go out and find those resources. And it's just, again, it's going to open up too many, well, what about this and what about that? That's not our job. We're not a catering company. We're not a function hall. I do see the point of like, yes, I'd like to see more of the Needham local groups in here. I think it's great if we could have some of the sports organizations that maybe have a end of the year banquet or something like that. I think those are great value adds to a room like this, that's something you're giving to the community. And it's just, I'm afraid someone's going to take one step further and then another step and then another step. And it's going to get out of our comfort zone that's not what the Park and Rec staff commission or department needs to be doing as a function hall type of thing. That I agree, it's for the community and let's use it for the community, and we're not a rental hall type of place.
Right.
So.
Mr. Chair, I mean,
Sure.
I do think that if there were a way to have the infrastructure regarding how this room is used, similar to what they have at Town Hall, where there are people who are responsible, there are custodians, there is administration, you fill out an application and it is reviewed. And I don't know the process, it's been a while since I had to do anything with that room, but there is a system and there is infrastructure, which we don't have here. Now, if we could piggyback with what they do for Power Solve, maybe we could do that, or if we had that infrastructure here, we'd take fine. It's highly doubtful that we would have that, but then I think we would revisit this. Because I think when it was built, I'm not entirely sure it wasn't built with the idea in mind that we may rent it out. That was definitely a possibility. It was kind of a hot topic at the time. And those of us who didn't want to do it prevailed by saying, let's wait and see how it goes. And, went okay for a few years, then we get COVID and then things have never really recovered, right? Some of those conversations just start to come around now in 2025. But I think if there was a way to have that infrastructure, I don't know how we would get that. I don't know who's interested in doing that. I have the sense that this commission is not so interested in doing that. And why our department would be interested in doing that, I'm not quite sure. But if there were someone, and if there's someone in town government who wanted to push that along, I think that's great. But I know our department doesn't have the staff, as Ian said, and that's not new news, but she just clearly pointed it out. And I'm sure the Board of Health is not going to be able to fill that void either, so.
Can I ask, Cindy, are you talking about like how you would book the room or request a permanent? Because so that room has been put on the event manager process.
Okay, so I was thinking of that, Stacy. I was also thinking that we have access to, I'm gonna say custodial staff, which I don't think we have, and that we have people, and
Right.
I don't know if it's always custodial staff who are here, who, that we monitor it, that it's all taken, that all that infrastructure is there, and I didn't think we had it for this facility.
We do now. So I am the person that does all the approvals of everything and goes through the permits and wants and makes sure that do they need a custodian, do they not need a custodian? But all of it runs through DPW, and ironically, Kristen Wright is behind all of the permits and approvals. So when she goes through and she sees somebody here on like a Saturday afternoon and they didn't request custodial, she'll reach out to the requester and say, you need custodial, it's gonna be this much money. So it's not a perfect situation, and at the end of the day, I still have to approve it, both for our building and for the Memorial Park, which I would agree with Hannah. It is a bigger time suck than I thought it would be on our jobs, because there's a lot of moving pieces. And we are one of the few, our building and Memorial Park are the only two buildings, public buildings in town that don't have a full daytime custodian. It's just not big enough to have one, or there's not enough work to have one. So all the other buildings have full-time custodians. And so if you have an event, they're there to help, where we don't have those kinds of things in our building. So we have to make sure it gets scheduled.
So if someone wants an event, Stacy, and we don't have a custodian, what happens? Can you say no, we don't have a custodian, or is that where you folks end up having a backfill?
So DPW would have to say, sorry, we can't fill it, or it ends up being George, who's like the superintendent of or the custodians, or, you know, if I need a building open and he's not available, or if he's not around, he'll ask me if we can open it. So like we do help each other out, but I'm not gonna sit here for 4 hours on a Saturday so that, you know, so and so can have a meeting. That we would just say, sorry, we can't staff the building.
So I'm just wondering if it is so impractical, since we don't have the staff to do it, as to not, I mean, we obviously put something in our policy, but if it is so impractical that we will almost never be able to say yes, then we don't really need to have much of a policy for it, right? And if that changes in the future, we revisit the policy. A policy can be revisited every year. It's
Right.
Something that's done, right?
I think the only update I would want to the policy is those people that request for like birthday parties and bar mitzvahs to be able to say like, no, we don't do that, because if it's no, we don't have staff that day, they'll just say, well, what about this day? What about the this is the game we play. Like, well, what about the following weekend? So if it's just a flat no, we don't do that. Hey, try Powers Hall, which is what we sort of have been doing in practice. Then that language would be helpful for us to fall back on. But the rest of it is, yeah. I mean, I just pulled the schedule and it's for both on event manager and in my rec. It's, you know, it's a busy space. The only time it's really not busy is from like noon to 2, Monday through Friday, and it's just not a time that's not an easily bookable time. But most mornings, most right after schools, and almost every evening, it's booked with something.
And people are gonna wanna look at, I would think, for weekends, Friday nights, Saturdays, Sundays, right? If they've got birthday parties or anniversary parties
Yep.
or whatever they have, right? It's gonna be weekend, either afternoon or evening. So we would have to have, custodial staff for that. And do we have that? I don't, they have to
So
pay for
the
it.
thing is,
DPW
when
organizes that
Okay.
and
The
schedules
thing
it.
is too, like when they request in event manager, they're requesting to have a custodian or not, whether or not they know the process, right? And if it's out of typical business hours, in theory, you need one or the other, or sometimes both. You can request it, but it doesn't mean that there's going to be
They're
staff, because
available.
if they're
Okay.
But the
available
other
is
events
another
go-
thing, and there's other events, correct?
Okay.
So like,
Well,
not to play devil's advocate,
right,
but
no, so I'm in favor of, I'm still at not renting the room, and I certainly appreciate, Jim Commissioner Rosenbaum's point about trying to make money, and I've had this argument so many times years ago with, Matt Dillon in particular.
Yep.
I was a big proponent, and I'm still not in favor of it. I think it is a beautiful facility. I think it's for Park and Rec and Board of Health to use as much as they are able to use it, and other nonprofit groups that are need-based, sports groups, youth groups, not in favor of renting it out to the general public.
Yeah,
But I fully appreciate that.
No,
position.
you're making all great points. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know all the little fine details. And
Yeah,
it's worth bringing, it was worth bringing up.
yeah,
Well,
no, it
definitely.
definitely is, and I think it's something we should look at periodically, because maybe it could be a moneymaker. I don't know that it would be, I can't tell you that it would be lots of money or.
Hundreds of dollars.
Right.
Tens of dollars.
Yes.
I don't know, and not looking down on making money at all.
Stacy, can I ask this one question? Do we have any existing or requests that are still waiting to hear from us, or of all the requests that have come in to use this room for said events like anniversary, wedding reception, things like that? Are there any waiting for us to get back to them, or have we said pretty much no to
No,
all of them?
I've let them all know that the commission, while they haven't officially updated the policy, is now not allowing that. And
Okay.
that here are all the other places they could reach out to. We did have a couple people ask, I think this would be a great moneymaker, you should revisit it. At the end of the day, however much we can charge, you factor in the number of staff hours between myself, Hannah, and Nikki, we're not making any money. So, and I like, that's harder to prove on paper, but I can tell you with the amount of stuff we have going on, and inevitably we're breaking down or to picking up trash on a Monday morning because we have, senior yoga in there, but it didn't get cleaned as well as it should have over the weekend. And then we're making phone calls. Like it's just, it's not a all day, every day staff building. It's not a rec center where we have somebody in the building all day, every
Right.
day.
So to sum it up, the juice is not worth the squeeze.
That sounds terrible, but okay.
That's a very popular. Oh my gosh, it means it's not worth it.
So does she need us write something? Can you draft?
Do you want you want to draft something? Do you want us to draft something? Where do you want to go next?
It's already semi-drafted. I just need your official, yes, we want to move forward, and then we can put it in our next packet for you to officially approve. Unless I already did it. I haven't read through it recently.
One more question.
Sure.
The director, Stacy, have you had any pushback from, town government or town management that they would like to see us,
Great question.
let's not ask the finance committee right now, but because I'm not sure what they would check out, but anybody, the select board or town management, that they would like to see this building rented out?
Nope, not at all.
She's
Okay.
shaking her head no.
Okay.
Oh,
all right,
sorry.
so,
Nope, not at all.
Oh, I'm just thinking with, like the dog park, those folks went to the select board and there was a lot, they've had a big push for that kind of stuff, but nothing on this issue. Okay, thank you.
Nope. And I would say, without opening a giant can of worms, and please don't ask any more questions. No, you can if you want. But I think one of the things I've been thinking about since I now have a full-time staff is a strategic plan for this department, and whether or not the commission, the town, the select board wants our department to be a money-making business or a service we offer to the people. Do we want to be level funded? Do we want to be, at the end of the day, we're even, because there are a lot of different programs that we run as a benefit to people, and there's a lot of different programs that they pay for. So I think that's a much broader question.
Okay, perfect. Anything else you need from us on that? Or do you need a motion? What do you?
Not on that.
Nope.
Not
Nope,
yet,
nope,
not until
okay.
it's official.
Got it. Okay, perfect then. All right. You don't need to whisper.
I
Yeah,
have
you have to
a-
speak
at 9.
Yep.
I have a call, I have to.
No
say.
problem, no.
Okay, so I have to. leave
No
at
problem.
9.
All right.
Okay.
Where do you want to go next, Stacy? What else do you have on your?
I have
docket?
goals and responsibilities, but those didn't get to you
Okay.
ahead of time because of the Excel situation. I
Sure.
think the next biggest thing would be capital.
Yes.
And I know that got to people late, but as I was working and sending those to you, and I talked to Chris earlier today, our next meeting is technically after the deadline for me to submit the capital. And for those of you that don't know, Bob Baker has reached out to a select board member to find out why we are not in favor of a disc golf course. So I did talk to Katie King about it and told her and sent her some emails that the commission separately from me and myself have interacted with Bob. But I think the priority list for the upcoming capital plan is important, which is why I outlined the projects that have gone last year to the capital plan and the current ones in the email that I sent this afternoon. I don't expect, unless you guys have really researched this in the last 3 weeks, you to come up with a priority list right now, but I put it out there in the event that we might want to schedule another meeting before the deadline.
Okay. What is that deadline again?
I believe it's October 9th. I have to. It's been a week. I know it's only Monday, but it's been some time. So I
That's
haven't
only-
looked that
only
up
Monday, right.
recently, but I can find out for you. There was a submission due today, but we weren't involved because that was building and IT, and we don't have any big capital projects for that. So
Okay, so
I
just
can
kind of
look it up.
looking at where we are schedule-wise right now is we are the 15th. We are not meeting next week, the 22nd. Is there a holiday on the 29th? Or an event or something like that?
I think there, isn't it?
Because I'm just like looking at the next dates that if you're giving us the 9th. If we meet on the 6th, is that enough time for you, or would you kind of want to have something a week prior of a meeting on the 29th, so you then have those additional days? Like, I don't want to
the-
make it too close, but I don't,
No, I mean, unless we're adding something brand new outside of the email that I sent you, the 29th is fine because I will update all the information that I have and it'll just be about what year we want to put them in, if there's any
Okay.
change to them.
So hold on a second, let's look at my calendar here just to.
Fine, that's fine.
29th work for you? All right, so I know we're kind of jumping around here, is that, I know that's one of the other agenda items that we have on there for future meetings. Can we kind of put a placeholder right now that we will meet on the 29th and discuss these capital projects? And I would ask that all the commissioners kind of have a top 5, top 10 list of where things should fall.
Okay.
Does that work? Michelle, how, 29th work for you, or?
Sorry, I couldn't unmute. Yes,
Oh.
that's for me.
Okay, all right, so Stacy, that works for you also?
Yes, sorry, I forget that you can't see me.
Is, if you
Yeah,
can
Hannah
find
didn't
it.
let us know, okay. All right, perfect.
Scribing.
So what?
Scribing.
I just sent out a hold calendar invite to everybody
Okay,
so that it's on your calendars or in your email at the very least.
okay. And just one thing, and this is just me being me, is I think we do support a disc golf, but we had put no timeline on exactly. So for a statement to be made saying that we don't support it, I think is inaccurate from the representative. It's just
Oh.
the timing of when a project could be done. Would
Correct.
that be agreeable?
Yes, and all the conversations we've had is the commission is 100% supportive. We do not know when. And it does have to go into the big bank of all the other projects. But I
Mhm.
think in this process, we will be able to say, well, it will not be until FY20 whatever. We are still in full support. This is just the way the process works.
And I think that again has been highlighted in multiple meetings, and I think there was even an article in the Observer that also noted that same topic.
Yes, and I think one of the things that the representative keeps touting is the fact that it's short money. And while it is short-term money, it's the same draw on my staff time. So it's the same amount of meetings, it's the same design stuff, it's the same project management. It may not be as long as, say, a Claxton, but it's still, when it happens, it's still going to create a lot of time outside of the normal operations of our department.
Agreed.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got?
I think that was it from my,
You think, okay, I'm looking at
Unless-
Hannah here to see if there's any hand gestures or anything like that. Anything from the commission? Good.
Just the meeting, that summit, board summit next week, the 25th.
Yes,
Did anyone make
No.
that?
I will be away in Texas. Cindy, I know you've indicated that you can make it.
I can't. yeah.
Dina will
I
not,
can't,
cannot make it.
yeah.
Michelle, I think you have a previous engagement that you will not be able to make the 25th,
I
correct?
cannot, nope, I cannot make it.
Got it, okay. Jim, okay, Jim can probably not make it either, so that makes one commission member. Oh,
I
yes, yeah,
can,
all of them. It's kind of like when we do like, the warrant article readings.
So I am, I will attend, I'm happy to, I will attend. From what Mike described it as, I'm not sure it would be effective as one person representative.
I agree.
But, I will attend just to report back to the commission.
Mhm.
And I will let them, I don't know, who
Right.
we let know, but, I'm not sure if they accept our, decision that they're not gonna look at this, we need to be there, but I won't be, it won't be that. clear.
True, yeah, I wish it was that easy.
Yeah.
So, okay, all right, so we do have Cindy go.
I can
Thank
be there
you.
as well.
Okay,
Oh, that would be great, Stacy, at least I won't be alone.
Andy, you want to go too? You don't have to answer now, so,
I-
all right,
I'm slightly
Go.
wondering though, however, that now that we've voted on Tefazio, I'm wondering if that summit is not gonna happen, because the whole premise
Right.
of that meeting was to narrow down the options.
I think it still will, this is just my opinion, because you do have other boards that even though if you're taking DeFazio off the list, they still have to look at a school, the finance committee still has to look at the numbers, the planning board still has to look at the location, conservation committee, so if you take us out of it, there are still 6 other or maybe more boards that are gonna have to look at something, it just doesn't happen to be DeFazio. In my opinion.
I agree, I think it will happen anyway, Michelle, I don't know what the way, Michael Bryan described it was a little puzzling. to me,
Interesting.
because He made it sound like we were going to look at all the options and talk about them, and honestly, they've been talked about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Public, I mean, I could, all of us could
Agree.
probably give the presentation at this point.
Yeah.
See where it is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not to be flip about it,
Mhm.
I
but
know, I agree.
he made it sound like we're gonna break out into focus groups and talk about the merits of each of these options, and I don't really. I don't quite understand that, but I'm happy to go and, participate to the best of my ability as, and with Stacy and 2 of us there. Maybe him, so.
Yep,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Okay.
So.
All right, anything else to talk about, Paula, since we're kind of just circling? Okay, let's go back. We have no more discussion items, action items or approvals. I take it we do not have any special events.
No,
We do not have any policy approvals.
we did not get them to you.
No, but you will
Yes.
next time.
Okay, we do not have any fee approvals. We do not have any minutes of the meetings. It is gonna be a long time when we finally approve all these minutes.
All you
right,
have to do is
anything
read
else?
them ahead of time and it will go quick.
I always do. They're so well taken.
Mm.
So, all right, chairs updates and issues not recently anticipated by the chair in 48 hours. I think we kind of went over anything. If any other commissioner has something they want to bring up right now, please speak. Okay, not hearing anything. Topics for future meetings. I say, I like what we do is how we just keep things on the docket like a Pollard and policies and goals that even if we don't talk about it, we have the option to do it. But if there's nothing new, then we can just move on to the next thing. So unless there's something glaring that needs to go on to either the director's report that we're looking for something specific or a discussion item, we leave the agenda as is and just edit whenever we send out the notice to the town every other Wednesday when we have meetings. So going into the next meetings, we are slated for the 29th. Okay. Did you also send out a doodle poll for the next meetings like all those other ones match up for the 27th, 10th and 24th without any issues?
If you look at the agenda, I believe it will tell you the next ones that are updated. I believe it's in addition to the 29th, October 22nd. And then then the following Monday, I think, because of the weird holidays and Monday holidays again in October. But if we're gonna meet the 29th, that'll be our third time this month. We could, depending on what's happening, potentially meet one time in October. But I believe
Okay.
it's the Wednesday, the 22nd.
It's the 22nd.
Okay, perfect. All right, jumping back here. Anything else anybody want to go over? We have a motion. Do we have a motion in a second? All those in favor, I will take a roll call because we have one commissioner on Zoom. So Michelle Geddes,
Michelle?
I was muted.
Hey, there you go. All right, James Rosenbaum, Cindy Chaston,
Aye.
Dina Hannigan,
Aye.
Chris Pearsall is also an aye. Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful
Thank you.
evening.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.